It started with a bottle on the beach. Inside, an old, torn treasure map. And then, a hand landed on your shoulder. "That map," he grinned, "leads to my treasure." Before you could blink, you were aboard his ship, and just like that, your adventure began. He let you touch the wheel. Your heart raced. You almost steered into a rock. He laughed it off. He showed you where the crew lived. Cramped, but cozy. In the galley, the cook was already yelling, and a table covered in maps of places you'd never heard of. First lesson? Everyone works. Even you. Others patched the sails over and over, and when supplies ran low, you fished, and the cook turned it into a feast. And sometimes you caught more than you bargained for. Some days, the sea gave you gifts, and sometimes, something magnificent. A moment you'd never, ever forget. He pointed to the endless blue and smiled. "Out here," he said, "no one owns you." And somehow, you understood exactly what he meant. But who was this man, really? Forget the movies. He's not a cartoon villain. He's a real person with a real story. Most pirates were once poor, desperate people, sailors treated cruelly who finally rebelled. They ran to the sea to be free, and on that ship, they became a family. At night, someone always started to sing, and before long, everyone was dancing. They told stories of monsters, storms, and lost friends, and sometimes the stories were sad, but no one grieved alone out here. And you realized this was more than a crew, and tonight, you were one of them. He raised a cup to strangers who become friends. But don't be fooled, this life was brutal. Storms that could swallow the whole ship, hunger when the food ran out, sickness with no doctor for miles, and danger around every wave. So why choose a life this hard? Because for once, their life was their own. They even wrote their own rules, fair ones. Every man got a vote. Even the captain could be replaced. Treasure was split fairly, by the rules. Honestly, more fair than you'd expect. And that skull flag? A clever warning. Raise it, and most ships surrendered without a fight. Scaring them was smarter than fighting them. And yes, the parrots were real. Pirates loved exotic pets from far-off lands. Peg legs and hooks? Sadly, those were real too. Proof of just how dangerous this life could be. And the eyepatch? Maybe the cleverest trick of all. One eye stays ready for the dark below deck. Their real enemy wasn't the Navy, it was scurvy. A pocketful of limes could save your life. And grog, watered rum, kept the crew going. They feared ghost ships and sea monsters, legends of the deep. But the sea itself was the real monster. When they did fight, the cannons roared. Truth is, nobody out there wanted to die, but mostly it was noise and nerve, not slaughter. And real treasure maps almost never existed, which makes yours, he grinned, very special. They all knew the legends, like fearsome Blackbeard. Half his legend was a show he put on himself. Fear was just another tool to stay alive. Now, let's bust some myths. Walking the plank? Basically made up. There's almost no proof it really happened. Buried treasure? Also mostly a legend. Most spent their gold the moment they got it. Live fast, because tomorrow was never promised. Every so often, they'd sail into a hidden port, markets full of things you'd never seen. He bought you a little compass, so you never lose your way. Everyone knew the captain. Everyone loved him. Children followed him down the street, wide-eyed. A night of music, food, and impossible tales. And for the first time in ages, you felt like you belonged. An old sailor sang of home, and everyone went quiet. Every face in that room carried a story, and every one of them chose freedom over safety. And that arrr pirate voice? From a movie. Real pirates came from everywhere and sounded like it. His crew came from a dozen different lands. People the world had thrown away found a home here. Some of the fiercest pirates were women. They fought, led, and outsailed the men. On the sea, what you were born didn't matter. Only what you did and who you stood beside. And to people who had nothing, that meant everything. Then, a warship appeared on the horizon, and the chase was on. You threw yourself into helping. He knew a trick, a hidden channel through the rocks, and just like that, they were gone. Your hands were shaking, but you were grinning. But remember, you still had his map. So you set sail for the X. He taught you to sail. You were terrible, but he was patient, and you got better. One night, under 1,000 stars, he told you his dream. Not gold, just a little peace, a place to belong. And suddenly, he wasn't a pirate, just a person, like you. Then, the sea tested you both, and this time, you didn't freeze. You helped, and together, you made it through. And then, someone shouted, "Land!" You'd found it, the island from the map. You passed a waterfall straight out of a dream. Map in hand, you searched. The jungle wasn't going to make it easy. A rickety bridge over a deep ravine. You made it, barely. The trail led into a dark cave. Strange old carvings covered the walls. The carvings were a riddle, a final test. And this time, you cracked it. A hidden door ground open. After you, he said. He trusted you now. Beyond it, a chamber untouched for centuries. Gold, jewels, relics, a king's ransom. But he didn't lunge for it. He just smiled. He already had everything he came for. A friend. And then, a trap. He'd saved your life without a second thought, and you knew he'd do it again in a heartbeat. Past the twin palms, around the black rock, until the X. You dug and dug and dug, until your shovel hit wood. Hearts pounding, you opened it together, and there it was. Gold. Real gold. You'd actually done it. He could have taken every coin. Instead, he pressed a coin into your hand. Treasure's no good, he said, if you've no one to share it with. And that's when you understood the real treasure. You didn't expect to feel this much. He just smiled, like he'd known all along. It was never the gold. It was the friends, the freedom, the feeling of belonging. You came looking for gold. You found something better. You watched one last sunset together. You already knew you'd miss him. And though he grinned, he'd miss you too. Neither of you said much. You didn't need to. Some friendships last a lifetime. Some, just a voyage. Both matter. He taught you more than sailing. To live fully, to fear less, to hold your friends close. But every voyage has to end. He gave you the map. For your next adventure, he winked. And with a grin, he sailed back into legend. So what were pirates, really? Not the heroes of stories. Not the monsters either. Just people. Flawed, brave, desperate, free. Chasing a feeling the rest of us only dream about. To be truly, completely free. And maybe that longing lives in you, too. You still have his coin. You always will. And you'll never look at the sea the same way again. A quiet wish to break free and just sail. You carry a little of that freedom now, wherever you go. And one day, you'll take a leap you were once too scared to take, because a pirate once showed you how. In every choice to be brave, to be kind, to be free. And every time you see the ocean, you'll smile. And somewhere out there, he's still sailing, free as the day you met him. So whatever your sea is, set sail. Don't lose that. Stay a little wild, a little free, a little curious. Because your adventure, it's only just begun. Thanks for sailing with me today. Subscribe, and the captain says I. More people, more worlds, more wonder. Until next time, stay curious.